But first things first. What is the JPPS framework? There are quite a few acronyms ahead, beginning with JPPS, Journal, Publishing, Practices, and Standards. But where does this JPPS framework come from? It did not arrive fully formed. In fact, it was developed over years by INASP and AJOL to support the visibility and credibility of Southern research. But let's get past the other acronyms first. INASP is the International Network for Advancing Science and Policy, and they are based in Oxford, UK. AJOL, that's us, African Journals Online, based in Makanda, South Africa. The JPPS standards are based on international standards, but also integrate quite a lot of local knowledge. AJOL believes in African solutions for African problems. Therefore, using only international standards is ignoring the value of local knowledge. And for that reason, the JPPS framework combines local knowledge with international standards gleaned from working with independent journals, journal editors and researchers in African countries, and from other resource-constrained settings. But what other resource-constrained settings? In fact, there are several journal online systems established by INASP in other low to middle income countries: Vietnam, Bangladesh, Central America, Mongolia, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and the Philippines. Why did we need to develop the JPPS framework to begin with? The easiest way to explain this is to take a short detour into the world of maps, specifically the Mercator projection, which is the international standard for map projections. It distorts the size of regions further away from the equator, so we end up with this nonsense, which is that Greenland looks like it's the same size as Africa, when Africa is actually 14 times the size of Greenland. The following GIF shows the correct relative size of the continents and countries to one another, and you may be surprised because if you notice, Africa doesn't change size, but Europe and North America shrink considerably, and so does China. Surprising, right? Maybe not. There's also no special reason that the North is at the top and the Atlantic's in the middle, except that's the way it's always been shown. There's no reason we can't flip it, and that the Indian Ocean's at the middle, and Africa and Australia and South America are at the top. This all just goes to show that the way things are does not need to be the way they stay. How does this relate to the JPPS framework, I hear you ask, because you are busy and want me to get to the point. Well, because the North's domination of research means that there's an imbalance. Southern research is as valuable but isn't taken as seriously. We have all encountered this. INAP's mission is to support research-producing individuals and institutions in order to use their knowledge they produce to change lives, while AJOL is the world's largest online library of African-published peer-reviewed scholarly journals, so that African learning can be used for African development. Southern researchers are in the best position to address the South's challenges, and in fact, the world's challenges. Therefore, the South's researchers must be supported in their endeavors to publish their research. Currently, we're a little bit lacking. Further, they need to be supported in their efforts to make the research more discoverable. This is very important. Research we can't find, we can't use. What challenges do they face? Lack of support, infrastructural and financial. Lack of familiarity with international publishing standards. Underrepresentation in international indexes and rankings, due to the above. And also the really irritating mistaken identification as predatory journals because of the lack of familiarity. These shortfalls have very negative impacts on research and development because research that can't be found can't be used, and policymakers and influencers don't have the data, it affects their decision making. So knowledge is, as we all know, power. Addressing the imbalance of research access and research quality across the North and South is therefore crucial to Southern development, and it is imperative that Southern journals be trusted as part of the regional and global scholarship environment. This, we feel, AJOL is a non-negotiable, and the JPPS framework is an element in our attempts to redress this global scholarly imbalance. How does the JPPS system help journals, though? Basically, all it does is fulfill three main purposes. Firstly, it guides journal editors in improving article publishing processes. Secondly, it assures readers and authors that the journal meets certain international standards. Thirdly, it acknowledges journals that have achieved widely recognized publishing standards. But there's always a but. What the JPPS system does not do is check the quality of research content. That is entirely the journal's prerogative. And one other thing, JPPS ratings are only available to journals that are applying for inclusion in or already in the AJOL system. JPPS ratings are only issued through an assessment done by AJOL. They're not generally available. There is no JPPS without AJOL. So be sure to apply, because without us, there is no JPPS rating for your journal. So this assessment that I keep talking about, where does it come from? What are the criteria and how do they work? The criteria are derived from several sources. Inclusion standards set by the international indexes such as Clarivate and COPE and DOAJ, academic publishing industry guidelines, as well as lived experiences of those in the context of journals in developing countries, and in AJOL's case, feedback from African editors. But the criteria work quite simply, despite all of the complicated machinery behind them. There are four main elements. The first one, with which you will hopefully become or are already familiar, is the assessment, then the report to the editor, and the display of the JPPS rating and inclusion on the official list. It looks faster than it is. I apologize if you are waiting, because everyone who applies to AJOL is automatically assessed as a prerequisite for being on AJOL. If you are already on AJOL, you will be reassessed from time to time, and it's the same process. You will receive a report, your new rating will be displayed, and you will be updated on the official list. Simple. There are 6 JPPS star ratings or tiers, as follows. There are a no-star rating, a new title rating, the inactive title rating, a 1-star, a 2-star, and a 3-star ratings. 1-star journals have been compliant with the basic criteria for 2 years. We will go over those in a moment. A 2-star title, which is compliant with additional JPPS criteria as well as the basic ones. And the 3-star journal, which meets all the criteria for 1 and 2 stars as well as other criteria for at least 3 years. The new title may be accepted for inclusion on the JOL if it's found to meet the basic criteria, but they will only be given a star rating after 2 years. Please alert AJOL when your 2 years is up. A no-star rating doesn't meet the basic requirements. These are usually legacy journals. Generally, if you have no stars, we will ask you to reapply. And the inactive title. We have quite a few of these. Sometimes journals stop publishing for various reasons. Once you're on the JOL, you're on the JOL though, but you will be listed as inactive. Let's take a look at the basic JPPS criteria. These are the criteria for a new journal rating on AJOL. They are as follows. The journal must be published from within Africa. The journal must publish original research, and it must have a clearly stated aim, focus, and scope. The about the journal information must include the title, the ISSN, the name of the publisher or publishing body, and the copyright statement. This is very important. All of these things are compulsory. There must also be a licensing statement, the details of the editor and an editorial board, and an accurate publishing frequency, i.e. how many issues per year. The journal must also provide clear and comprehensive author's instructions, types of manuscript, style guide, description of how to submit, and a functional contact email. And the front page of each article must include the title, the author's names, and the abstract or summary. All articles in the journal must relate to the focus and scope of the journal and have a complete bibliography. Also, please send AJOL PDFs timeously. Different JPPS ratings have different criteria. These are just the basic ones. Lastly, let's take a quick look at the JPPS site, which you can access at www.journalquality.info. We are going to look at AJOL's holding here, but the other JOLs also have their lists hosted here. You will note that I am going to scroll down and show quite a few of the journals already hosted on AJOL. You will further note that not all the journals which have been recently added are yet listed here. This site is updated periodically, and currently AJOL.info is slightly ahead. So don't worry, if you have already completed your assessment and you are not listed here, you are still listed and your JPPS rating is live. Don't panic. But this is the JPPS site as opposed to the AJOL site with which you may be familiar. As you can see here, there are quite a few inactive titles. COVID has been unhelpful in this respect, but also quite a few one-star journals. One star is fairly simple to achieve, 2 stars a little bit harder, and 3 stars considerably harder. Let's search here by new ratings. As you see here, like I've said, all the new ones are not yet listed here. Some journals will also be reassessed, and then the rating will be updated on AJOL as well as on this site. So it is a constant process of improvement and updates.